Yo, Cover One crew, what is going on? Chris Childs back again. Happy Saturday for everybody. I hope everybody's doing great out there, man. I'm doing awesome because we are again doing Start Sit week number 4 for every contest and every position, every fantasy viable player, man. We're doing it all for you. This is the consistent thing we're going to be doing all season long. Do me that favor, smash that like button for me and jump in those comments if you got Start and Sit questions, because I will get back to you on them if you have them. But nevertheless, what do you guys say? We dive in to the good stuff because, I mean, it is a lot to cover. So I know we say it like every single season. It feels like a broken record. We say, I can't believe there's so many injuries. And it's like really every single year we feel this way. But this is the game of football, man. Everybody goes down at a certain point in time. It's a rough game. This is why we got to have next man up appeal in fantasy football. We're dealing with a boatload of injuries this week. So let's dive in to those Arizona Cardinals going up against the Carolina Panthers. Both teams 1 and 2 looking to win. Matt Rule apparently has lost the locker room. We'll get more into that with Carolina, but this is good news for Arizona Cardinal fans. Kyler Murray, the low-risk play for me once again this week. You can't hate what these Cardinals are doing from the quarterback position at least. Kyler has done more than enough for you to continuously get wins from the quarterback position. He is a no-brainer. James Conner is the one that I was concerned about last week. He was coming off the injury. He looked fine. He looked good, and I think this week has got very good upside. You're definitely playing James Conner this week, but I think the upside is very good against Carolina Panthers defense that was supposed to be a lot better than what they were. But again, I think it's the coaching staff that the team has already given up on at this point because there's so much talent here, and they're just not coming to fruition based on the scheme and how the coaches are not producing in that respect. Marquise Hollywood Brown, low-risk play for me. He's been an absolute fantasy darling this year. And I mean, okay, fine. No D-Hop. This is what we were saying. D-Hop's coming back soon. A couple more weeks. And if you drafted DeAndre Hopkins, got him on a bench, start smiling if your record is in the plus because D-Hop is going to help your team. But Hollywood has been very, very good. And we knew this. I knew this as well. This was my caveat in the offseason that he was likely going to produce in the absence of DeAndre Hopkins. What happens when D-Hop comes back? We shall see. But you still got 2 more weeks of very good potential productivity from Hollywood, and I think he's going to be very good this week. You're plugging and playing him. Greg Dortch is a low-risk play for me this week. I think I'm playing him if you have open flex options. The PPR upside is just absolutely glorious, and Kyler Murray has seemed to have found some good chemistry with this man. 35.8 points, and he's got 2 boom games. You can't hate that whatsoever. Greg Dortch, definitely fire him up this week. Zach Ertz, again, very much a low-risk play for the tight end position. I think he's been very consistent, going to continue down this path. Hopefully, the only issue I have with the Arizona Cardinals right now is Cliff Kingsbury. Fix your play calling, man. This team should be way more high-octane than what they are. Rondale Moore is a high risk. He could potentially play this week. Something to definitely watch. You're not starting him this week, but we do want to see him get back on the field of play. Here's the Atlanta Falcons next on the board, going up against the Cleveland Browns. The Brownies, Marcus Mariota, y'all. I mean, 3 boom games in 3 starts. How can you hate this type of productivity for a quarterback who is probably still sitting on the waiver wire? If you got bad quarterbacks in your league, I don't know why you're not rushing to the waiver to go get Marcus Mariota. Again, against the Cleveland Browns in Atlanta, you got to like the matchup, at least for him to give you the 15-plus points to give you another boom. This is what Marcus Mariota has been doing this season. The rushing upside, like we said, they started finding Kyle Pitts, which was positives last week. Hopefully that continues again. Cordero Patterson is the issue today as we sit because he does have that injury risk to the knee. He hasn't practiced much all week, so you definitely got to look at game time and see if he's out there pre-game to confirm his play. Tyler Algier will likely get a lot of workload if Cordero Patterson does not suit up in this contest. So if he still is on the waiver, all Patterson owners, I implore you to go and maybe stash him before somebody else does. Hopefully you have room to do that. But Patterson, you definitely got to watch out for that. If he plays, you're starting him, but there is an injury risk to that because who knows, man, if he plays and then he comes out after the first series or something re-aggravates that knee injury, it is a problem this week, something to watch. So it definitely is a high injury risk. If you have other options, I do suggest maybe thinking about playing those other options over Cordero Patterson this week. Drake London has proven that he is a low-risk play every single week now because of how Mariota has been playing. You're definitely playing this man right now, 43.4 points on the season, 2 boom games. You got to love what's going on. I mean, Cleveland's defense hasn't been great, and you know that they're going to be feeding the ball to Drake London. It has come at the expense of our guy Kyle Pitts. Hoping that Pitts is going to continue what he saw last week. They started the game extremely, favorable in Pitts side. A lot of target share coming his way, and then it kind of cooled off as the game went on. Hopefully, the coaching staff will realize, continue to feed Kyle Pitts. It will only help Drake London as well, and both these individuals should pull coverage from each other. So for me, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, obviously must plays this week. Watch out for Cordero Patterson with a good low risk play for Marcus Mariota. The Baltimore Ravens going up against the Buffalo Bills, and this game could get ugly because of weather. We got some bad weather coming the way with the hurricane up the coast, so we'll see how this goes. Hopefully by game time Sunday it's not as bad as they're saying it's gonna be. It could be a wet weather contest, which means a lot of rushing upside for both teams potentially, and they got two quarterbacks that are gonna run the ball extremely well. Lamar Jackson, stud start, 104 points for your fantasy teams right now. This guy is playing lights out baller style. No kidding. Lamar Jackson is pushing for the MVP early on, even though we're only in week 4. He has looked absolutely phenomenal. J.K. Dobbins, I'm still putting the high risk on him right now. They're going to nurse him along for another 2 to 3 weeks. No kidding. Exactly how they did Saquon Barkley in New York when he came off the ACL. It's going to be exactly the same MO for J.K. Dobbins as we sit today, but he still gets a high risk, but it was good to see him on the field. Justice Hill as well. He is now a high risk, but he was starting to get a lot more carries. Coaching staff did like what they saw out of this man, so you gotta like what's going on for them to be healthy in this running back room, but they're going to nurse JK along, so high risk. Keep him on your bench this week. I would not start him against the Buffalo Bills, nor would I start Justice Hill. Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay both get the mid-level risk for me, and yes, I get it. The Bills defense still is hurting on the secondary. They signed Xavier Rhodes, and he pulled a hammy. Now he's not going to play. So they're still a little bit short. Dane Jackson is back, though, so that's a positive for the Bills secondary. But, when it comes to Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, they're both producing at very good levels. So if you have the ability to play both these guys, it's all about weather for me. If it's going to be a bad weather game, windy and rainy, I might not play either one of these individuals because it might be an ugly show in the pass game. It might go more towards the ground game. So definitely watch the weather forecast in that respect. If it's not as bad as they suggest, I'm okay to fire up both these individuals because Lamar has been doing very well. Bateman, obviously, in your wide receiver role. Duvernay in the flex position, I'm totally fine with. Mark Andrews still gets a stud start along with Lamar Jackson because he's just continuously putting up points for you, and in even inclement weather that isn't very good, Mark Andrews is going to see the PPR upside because it's going to be the checkdowns, the short plays, and any chance they can get, to cut the wind is going to go short to the tight end. Mark Andrews also possesses that high TD upside that you got to love in Baltimore. Isaiah Likely, high-risk play right now because, we hoped that he was going to do a lot better than what he has right now. It just has not looked good. Buffalo Bills now up against those Baltimore Ravens. Back-to-back coverage of this contest. Both teams 2-1. The Bills coming off the Miami Dolphin loss. They're going to be looking to come out hard and heavy in this contest. The problem that I see with the Bills offense continues to be the same. We don't possess a run game that is good. Everyone wants to criticize the offensive line. Yes, there are poor aspects of the offensive line when it comes to rushing protection. However, I don't blame this offensive line. They pass more often than they run, so this is why it hampers the run game. However, I do believe this team does pass more because they know they don't have a thoroughbred in the backfield to gain those 4 yards, the chunk yards plus that they require on, third down and 3. Like, these are the problems with this Buffalo Bills run game. You got to give props to Devin Singletary last week. He saw a lot of PPR work. He looked very good in the pass game. You can't, sugarcoat that at all. He looked very good. Josh Allen, stud start again this week. He's going to take it upon himself to get the Bills the victory against Lamar Jackson and these Baltimore Ravens on the road. It's going to be a tough task, no kidding. But Josh Allen, again, is going to be a stud start. Devin Singletary, I'm going to give him the mid-level play. Not because of his rushing aptitude, but because of the involvement in the pass game. So the way that you're watching defenses play the Buffalo Bills right now, they're playing 2 back, and they're giving the short passes early to the Bills' pass game. This might happen again against Baltimore, but Baltimore's defense is not very good. So again, depending on weather, we could see Devin Singletary see a lot more work in the pass game again this week. James Cook, Zach Moss, still too early to trust these two individuals. I really want to see the Bills start to, dedicate more touches to James Cook. He's starting to feel himself a little bit on the field. He's breaking a few big chunk yards. I like to see this out of James Cook. Zach Moss, okay, whatever. It is what it is with him. Stephon Diggs gets the low-risk play for me, and the only reason he's not a stud start is, again, because of weather. If it is a bad weather day, it's just going to be, that's what's going to happen to his stat sheet. It's going to be not a great overall day, the stud play, but the low-risk play for Stephon Diggs every single week. He is a stud. 3 boom games so far this season in 3 weeks. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen absolutely lights out right now. Gabe Davis did pull up again on that ankle, and he said he's going to play. So he said, no question about this. I am playing this week, so we got to take his word for it. How good will he be again on that hampered ankle? I mean, it's to be seen. So I got an injury risk on him right now. If you have other options, I would look in another direction. Isaiah McKenzie gets a good mid-level risk after showing that he's able to be trusted like he was last week. He looked very good, man, and I think you got to involve Isaiah a little bit more as well. Start spreading the ball around. Ken Dorsey, he's seen the tape, man, and you know he's going to start spreading this ball around. Dawson Knox, for me, high risk. Buffalo seems to have forgotten the tight end position in this offense right now. The only way that I say maybe potential sleeper is if the weather is poor and Josh Allen checks down and maybe some touchdown upside to Dawson Knox, but right now you cannot trust Dawson Knox whatsoever in fantasy football play. Carolina going up against those Arizona Cardinals, Baker Mayfield, and this offense look anemic. They do not look good. Christian McCaffrey is dealing with a thigh injury. And I mean, will he play? They're saying it is a question mark that he may not even suit up in this contest. Even if he does, could we see more sprinkles of Chuba Hubbard to save the thigh injury? This is a very big potential in that. Baker Mayfield has not been great, but he's been doing enough for you fantasy-wise to get you the mid-level points. I mean, he does have one boom game, 2 busts. You can't, overly be encouraged with this. But, I mean, for me, against Arizona's defense, I got to say that Baker's got to show it. This defense is beatable at times. There are open, ways to get your receivers the ball. Right now, I got DJ Moore as a low upside play. You got to play DJ Moore week in, week out because that's where you drafted him, too high of the value. But his low upside because of Baker Mayfield and this poor passing attack, it really isn't good, man. DJ Moore even said he's open, he's getting cushion, and Baker Mayfield can't hit him. So it's a very difficult situation that we're having here in Carolina. Like I said, Matt Rule, the rumor is that he has lost this locker room. So you know what this means. Players are going to not play for this man until he gets fired and they have a change of the guard in Carolina. So we'll see. I mean, DJ Moore, to me, you got to play him, but you got to understand, if you have better options, which I highly doubt, I mean, 20.3 points in 3 weeks is not what you expect from a DJ Moore. It's really crippling your fantasy team. It's really hurting it, and I don't like it whatsoever. Robbie Anderson, mid-level risk because he still is going to possess the deep shot appeal for your team. But again, I don't really care for this Carolina Panthers passing attack as we sit today. Laviska Shenault came back from the dead and a big play. So if I am Matt Rule, you got to install some plays to Laviska to keep the defense honest as well. Short slot plays for Laviska. He can break free like he showed last week and then get DJ Moore sprinkled in. I mean, there's so much talent on this offense, and Baker Mayfield just simply can't get it done right now. Ian Thomas, high-level risk. You're not playing him in any fantasy stretch right now. The Chicago Bears going up against the New York Giants on this next contest. And I mean, I tried, okay? I tried Justin Fields. I really did. I was supportive of you last week. I said if this is going to be the week, this was the week to do it. Laid a goose egg for you. Did not do anything for your fantasy team. Obviously, you're not starting Justin Fields. But, I mean, I wanted to see it, and he failed it. So now going up against these New York Giants who have shown that they're beatable. Their offense in New York is very porous right now due to injury. This could be a very low-scoring game. The only thing the Bears are doing very well right now is running the ball with Khalil Herbert. David Montgomery is out with an injury. Obviously, we know this. Herbert was the top waiver wire addition of the week. 45.3 points for Khalil Herbert, man. I told y'all way back when he was drafted, man, that this guy's going to be a player, and you got to watch out for Khalil Herbert. If he continues down this path, David Montgomery may not be a Chicago Bear next year. He is on the contract, so they could move forward with Khalil Herbert and Tristan Ebner. And speaking of Tristan Ebner, he is going to get sprinkled into this offense this week, so you guys will get a chance to see of what he's able to do on the field. Ebner is definitely a good talent also, but this offense is in complete disarray. You cannot trust anything that's coming out of Chicago right now. They got to get more creative. They're super vanilla. Nothing's working. Darnell Mooney doesn't even look like he's playing football, man. 4.7 points, this poor guy. Everybody had high hopes. Right now, Darnell Mooney, you're almost at the point where you could drop him into the waiver wire. It's just not working. Pettis, St. Brown, and Kmet, same deal. All high-risk plays against these New York Giants. I would not trust anything in Chicago right now outside of Khalil Herbert, and then potentially, hopefully, we're going to see Justin Fields do something with his legs at least to get you that rushing upside. It is not a good look in Chicago right now. Cleveland Browns up against those Atlanta Falcons. Jacoby Brissett has done very well these past 2 weeks finding Amari Cooper, getting Amari Cooper that low-risk play every single week now. You got to like what you're seeing from Jacoby. He's the game manager. Like we said, I said it in the beginning of the season. He's going to be that game manager guy that you want to, you're not necessarily going to trust, but he's going to do more than enough to support this offense for the other pieces, man. You're not going to play Jacoby Brissett as your quarterback, but now Nick Chubb, look at this. 3 boom games, 62 points, man. The run game is free. Kareem Hunt, man, he is doing very well also, but Nick Chubb is just taking over this backfield right now. I still got low-risk level play on Chubb, but I got a good mid-level risk against these Falcons. I think Kareem finds his way into the end zone this week, so I am definitely playing him against the Falcons. Amari Cooper, no-brainer at this point. Low-risk play. The chemistry looks very good with Jacoby Brissett. Cooper is burning defensive backs on the regular right now. We knew that his route tree was unbelievable. His separation is great. So, I mean, Donovan Peoples-Jones, high risk. David Bell, high risk. I'm putting David Bell on the list right now because it's time. It's time for Cleveland to start utilizing David Bell a little bit more. He is a very good talent. He will have very strong PPR upside and yak yard ability. Get David Bell the darn ball, man. I don't know what you guys are doing in Cleveland. David Njoku comes back and he finds good upside this week for me. And this is the problem, though. You gotta make sure you understand what you're doing with David Njoku because it's going to come down to game script. If the game flow is running a different way, David Njoku's not going to see as many targets. He's not necessarily a fixture at this point in this offensive passing game. We need to see a little bit more consistency for me to say he's a weekly plug-and-play start. As of right now, I don't fault you for starting him against the Falcons because the defense does give up points to the tight end position. But, I mean, outside of that, I think that, you got to be careful until we see it on a more consistent level, like I'm saying. But if you're going to, swing for the fences this week, David Njoku's not a bad play against these Atlanta Falcons. The Dallas Cowboys, they found themselves very fortunate last week with Cooper Rush. And what did I say? What if Cooper Rush turns into Tony Romo? Clearly, he's not Tony Romo, but I mean, he's moving this offense enough. Still gets a high-risk level play. Zeke Elliott at this point, I can't trust it. I mean, I don't like it. Even against the Washington Commanders, I don't like it. I'd rather even start Tony Pollard at this point. The explosive ability and the high upside coming from Tony Pollard is that much better for your fantasy team than what Zeke is doing. He has become very much touchdown dependent at this point. He is a bulldozer, no kidding. We saw him crush guys this past week, but he is very much touchdown dependent for your fantasy team. It really sucks that Zeke does not look like the player that he used to be. Tony Pollard is the electric force that is likely going to give you better PPR upside and point production upside than Zeke Elliott at this point. I would still play both these individuals against the Commies because they don't look very good on the defensive side. CeeDee Lamb gets a low-risk play for me. He comes back and showcases his talents with a beautiful one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. Stop hating on CeeDee Lamb, y'all. I'm going on Twitter and I see everybody bashing CeeDee Lamb because he drops a couple passes. He's the wide receiver one now. He doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of support. Give the man a transitional period where he's going to figure it out against DB1s, all right? Give him a break. CeeDee Lamb is a baller in this league. He's going to continue to prove it, and Cooper Rush is able to support it right now. So, low-risk play for me against Washington for CeeDee Lamb. I think he's found his way back, got that confidence back. He's looking very good. Noah Brown has turned into a player as well. He gets you 34.8 points right now. He's got one boom game. He's a mid-level risk play for me. Michael Gallup still injured on the injured list, so we don't know if he's going to be ready to play due to that knee. And then Dalton Schultz as well is a questionable to the knee. Both very much high-risk plays. Injury risk plays. They may not suit up in this contest, so you got to watch out for game day time and see if they're going to play. I really doubt either one of these individuals will play, so CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, definitely decent plays. I mean, Lamb is a great play. Noah Brown is a decent play in your flex if you're looking for PPR upside. Denver Broncos, man, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Russ, I mean, that commercial you made with the sandwich is the best thing you've done all season long because, I mean, you guys look horrific on the field. Russ, what are you doing? Low upside. I've seen even people already dropping his services onto the waiver wire because they've had enough of Russ not cooking and not making anything. Right now, low upside play for me. Even against the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 0-3, they're going to be pushing hard in Vegas to get the victory against these Broncos. They have not looked good overall as a team, Denver. Russell Wilson looks stagnant. They're not running the ball near enough with Javonte Williams. Give this man the ball. He is a thoroughbred. Give him the rock. Let him bulldoze over people, get your run game established, set up the play action pass. I don't know why this is so difficult for Nathaniel Hackett. You and your vanilla play calling, Nathaniel. I'm going to call you out every time until you fix it. You had to hire somebody to do your head coaching abilities. I don't like what's going on in Denver right now. Mid-level risk for Melvin Gordon. He'll vulture a touchdown here or there. Vegas has not played well on the defensive side. We could definitely see Melvin Gordon have a decent day. Cortland Sutton is the steady play for you out of this offense right now. Very much a low-risk play, almost 40 points. He's doing good enough to be your wide receiver 2 on a weekly at this point, so I can trust and sit here and say Cortland Sutton is a very good start for me. Jerry Jeudy, on the other hand, he's too volatile for me to trust at this point. If you're throwing him on the bench, I will not fault you because I'm doing the same thing. I want to see more consistency out of this man before I'm going to preach up his good graces once again. I love Jeudy as the talent, but this offense just looks terrible, and I can't trust any more Denver Broncos. Hamler and Albert you are not even looking in their direction, so let's move on to these Detroit Lions going up against the Seattle Seahawks. This is a tough week, man, okay, because I feel bad for these Lions. They had the contest last week. They let it slip out of their grasp, but this is okay? Detroit fans, you guys got to understand. You got to learn how to win those types of games. You're on the cusp. You're on the fringe. You've built this offense very good. The defense is starting to come around, man. Jeff Okudah looks like the real deal like we thought he was going to be. Now you're dealing with injuries, and you're going to play up against a weaker team like Seattle. This is why I think maybe Amon-Ra could have suited up this week. I think they let him rest because they believe they can at least compete, if not win this game with the Seattle Seahawks. Jared Goff gets a mid-level risk for me simply because of the injuries. He's done very well overall this season. Showed that he is back as a very reliable fantasy football quarterback. 2 boom games for Jared Goff like we're back with the LA Rams. But no weapons right now is a big problem. DJ Chark is dealing with an injury also. He should suit up. He's got an ankle problem. But if he does not, you got Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, and then Cephas, Quintez Cephas as your wide receiver core in Detroit. Not great overall, and I don't even care. The Seattle Seahawks could literally lock down this pass game. But you do got Jamal Williams, no DeAndre Swift. So again, now you're going to be relying on Jamal to be doing the run game. Craig Reynolds is that risky sleeper upside if you're really desperate for running backs because they're going to split carries. Jamal Williams is not going to get 20 touches in this contest, and no Amon-Ra St. Brown. You know they're going to try to be a little bit balanced in this game. Craig Reynolds is a sneaky sleeper play this week. TJ Hawkinson, he is a low-risk play for me. What did I say last week? I said, if you want to throw him on the bench, let him hit on the bench. It's exactly what he did, okay? Don't be mad about that. It's a good thing. You want this player to finally break out like we know he can. This is the week without Amon-Ra St. Brown. TJ Hawkinson should see at least 10 targets come his way, if not more. If they move this ball at all, he's going to see red zone appeal also. So a touchdown should come his way with at minimum 10 targets coming to TJ Hawkinson's side, which would keep Jared Goff at the mid-level risk. But we will see how it goes. Josh Reynolds does have very good chemistry with Jared Goff. We could see a touchdown deep to him as well. So definitely some options that you could plug and play if you're dealing with some injury troubles. But, I mean, Craig Reynolds, I mean, it's a risk, man. You got to have some big kahunas to be playing Craig Reynolds. But, I mean, he does have some upside this week just based on volume and split carries in this backfield. Green Bay going up against the New England Patriots. And, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is back. There's nothing else you can say about that. He looks very good right now. Again, he's starting to get a build chemistry with his receiving core, especially Romeo Doubs and Alan Lazard. They have, pulled away from the pack. You're sprinkled in a little Randall Cobb. But, I mean, He looks like a 42-year-old in a 32-year-old body right now, so you're not trusting Randall Cobb. Christian Watson is just not on the same page in this offense at the moment, so it is Romeo Doubs, it is Allen Lazard, and then it's your beautiful tandem of running backs in Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. This offense does look very good. New England's defense still is good enough to compete in this with this offense in Green Bay, but Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, you firing both these individuals up. When it comes to Romeo Doubs and Allen Lazard, I think Doubs is going to start to pull away very quickly here. He is a very good talent. He is a very good wide receiver. His route tree is very nice. He finds separation, and Aaron Rodgers is going to look in his direction a lot, where Allen Lazard seems to be getting a lot of TD looks in the red zone. So that's kind of your mix and match. You got Lazard. He's a little bit more TD dependent, where Romeo Doubs is going to likely get a heavier set of target share from Aaron Rodgers. So this offense right now against New England should have a very good day. I don't want to say great, but it's going to be probably pretty great against these New England Patriots that are now without Mac Money Jones, man. Houston Texans going up against the LA Chargers, and I mean, there's not much to get excited about in Houston right now. What I tell y'all last week, I told you Dameon Pierce was a play. I said he was going to get 100 yards and a touchdown, and that's exactly what he did. Is he going to be able to follow that up against LA? I highly, highly doubt it. He's going to, again, see a lot of workload in the volume because they're going to try to control the clock, but I really, outside of, Davis Mills really moving this ball against the Chargers defense that hasn't played up to par. I mean, but you're going to see Khalil Mack just coming at this offensive line, and he's going to be bum rushing Davis Mills all day long. High risks basically all around, mid-level risks for Dameon Pierce and Brandon Cooks at this point. Brandon Cooks is kind of failing, but you can't fault him for it because the quarterback play has just not been good. The supportive pieces in this offense are not overly abundant and great. Derwin James should have the field locked up at the most part. We could see a deep play happen to Brandon Cooks. You got to spread the field a little bit. Nobody's afraid of this pass game. Defenses are collapsing and corralling on the Texans. I don't like really any of these plays right now. If you have better options, I would definitely look in another direction, even though the LA Chargers don't look as good as we thought that they would be at this point, man. The Indianapolis Colts going up against Tennessee Titans, and this is a very big divisional contest early on here in Week 4. Big game for both these teams. 1-1-1 for Indy, 1-2 for these Tennessee Titans. Matt Ryan got back on the good books last week, beating those Kansas City Chiefs in a shocker, and I mean, they looked better. They played a team game, well-rounded team game versus the Kansas City Chiefs last week. Matt Ryan is a mid-level risk. He does have 2 boom games, if you can believe it. 15 points is that threshold. He has gotten over those in two contests out of 3. And this is a game where I could see definitely Matt Ryan start to figure things out again a little bit more. We got Jonathan Taylor. He is obviously the low-risk play this week again. They're going to continue to feed him. I didn't want to put him as a stud start because Tennessee can play the run decently, but, I mean, it's Jonathan Taylor. You're plugging him in, no problem. It's just about his risk rank for me right now. Nyheim Hines cannot be trusted. I don't care who you are. You're not playing Nyheim. I don't know why this offense continues to fade this man. You have receiving problems. Why don't you feed the man from the backfield? Frank Reich, again, I'm scratching my head at you. Michael Pittman is that low-risk play again. He looks good. No matter the competition, he's going to get the target share, which is going to continue to give you the low-risk, high-upside play, and he's going to continue to give you the high-end points. 33 points in 2 games. He missed 1 due to injury. It's a very good stat line. Paris Campbell not doing it. Ashton Dulin, we are out on Ashton Dulin at this point, not going to do it. Alec Pierce I'm looking at this week. He came back. He played decently well, got you 7.6 points, but I think they're going to try to expand this offense to give him a little bit more work as well. It's going to be Pittman. It's going to be Pierce. It's going to be Jonathan Taylor. And now you got Jelani Woods, the tight end. He's beating out Mo Alley Cox because it is Mo Cox, Mo problems. And Jelani Woods is the guy right now. I think that could be a very good TD upside tight end in fantasy football, especially in this offense. He is a very large human being and is a big mismatch in this red zone. I am not playing Matt Ryan this week, though. I will not do it. He's got to show it to me one more time before I'm going to trust him, but I'm definitely going to suit up. Obviously, it's JT, Michael Pittman, and if you have issues with injuries, Alec Pierce is a decent play, mid-level risk right now for me from these Indianapolis Colts. The Jacksonville Jaguars up next against the Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. They are the only undefeated team in the NFL right now at 3-0. Trevor Lawrence, I told y'all again, he looks good, and I mean, All it takes is a good coach to uplift an offense, and Doug Peterson is definitely doing that for these Jacksonville Jaguars. They have a lot of weapons at their disposal. James Robinson looks like he didn't even have an Achilles problem. Looks like he got some metal put in that foot because he's running like a cyborg. You gotta love what James Robinson is doing on the field. It is coming at the expense of my guy, Travis Etienne, which I got now as a high risk. I cannot play Travis. You gotta put him on the bench, especially against this Eagles defense that is extremely good in all phases, man. Front, mid, and back. They look extremely solid. Trevor Lawrence is a mid-level risk for me this week because this defense is so good. And if it's a travel day, they're going to Philadelphia. This just does not look good for high productivity for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They might come back down to earth just a little bit because, guys like Slay and Bradbury are just dominating the back end right now. So I have a feeling they're going to try to lean on the ground game, which gives the low-risk play to a James Robinson. He's looked very good. Almost had him at a stud start. But again, this defense has played too good for me to promote a stud start this week. Very much low-risk play. Christian Kirk does get a mid-level risk, even though he's 3 games, 3 booms. He's got a mid-level risk for me because this secondary has been too darn good. They're shutting down guys like JJ, Justin Jefferson. I cannot say Christian Kirk is going to boom this week. Mid-level risk, man. It could even be worse than that. You might get under that 10-point threshold. I don't like it whatsoever. Zay Jones is dealing with an injury, so you definitely got to watch out for that, see if he's going to play. He might see some PPR work, but the one sleeper upside I do got this week is Marvin Jones, because if Christian Kirk plays, Zay Jones plays, you're going to see the 2 top defensive backs lock in on those 2 individuals. Marvin Jones might find his way into a sneaky deep touchdown pass catch from Trevor Lawrence this week. So there is sleeper upside for Marvin Jones, in my opinion, this week. Evan Ingram could be that steady guy, but we want to see a little bit more. I want to see Trevor Lawrence spread the ball around to all of his talents. But again, because the run game has been working, he hasn't had to feed every single individual. They're going to scheme it up every single week, a different player being that guy outside of Christian Kirk, but he's going to get locked up this week. I definitely caution the start for Christian Kirk. Kansas City going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes, what can you say? Patrick Mahomes, stud start every single week. It's going to be another one. Him and Tom Brady once again going to duke it out in prime time. Patrick Mahomes is going to be very good. Yes, they're licking their chops. They're licking their wounds from their loss last week to those Indianapolis Colts. They're going to want to get on the good note very early against Tom Brady and these Buccaneers, who have not looked great so far this season. Mahomes, no-brainer, obviously. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been an absolute revelation this year, showcasing the ability. But this is what it is. You don't have necessarily a true number one wide receiver on this team outside of a Travis Kelce, who is your tight end. This is why Clyde is involved in this game, man. Involved in the pass game. His PPR upside work is very, very strong, so you can definitely trust him every single week to be your RB1. You got to love it. Juju, man, he found his way to better productivity last week. He found himself to get a boom contest. He is a mid-level risk play against this very good Tampa Bay defense. We saw Tampa Bay lock up Green Bay in that second half. Green Bay started very fast, very strong, locked them up in that second half. So I typically see, the way that this Kansas City Chiefs team is built right now, I think they don't really have a true identity without a Tyreek Hill. Yes, Travis Kelce is the guy, but there is no wide receiver one. So it is this split, target share all over the field outside of Kelce, of course. But I do think that they're going to play very well against this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team. They want to win. They're not going to come out and lose 2 games in a row. I fully expect Patrick Mahomes to be at his best. And I think, Juju could be another one of these guys. McCole Hardman, I do have him as a high risk, but you got to watch out because he does play Tampa Bay very well. He is, dealing with some injuries as well. But I think, McCole Hardman, I was going to put him as a sleeper play, but I got him as a high risk because it's very hard to trust. So for me, it's Juju, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes, obviously your plays this week. LA Chargers going up against those Houston Texans. This is a get-right game for Justin Herbert. They looked awful last week. We know he's looking with those injured ribs. It's very difficult for him to throw the ball. It was inconsistent overall on the offensive side. What can you say about it? It was just not very good. lesser competition could mean more running plays to protect Justin Herbert and those injured ribs. The cartilage takes a little time to heal, so I mean, is it a get-right game? Probably not, because they're going to try to protect him as much as they can. I fully expect Austin Eckler to have a very big workload in this contest. Very much a low-risk play. He's got to get in the good graces. He has not looked good so far this season, but I think this is a contest where we see Austin Eckler have a monster boom effect. No Keenan Allen in this contest as well. He is out with that hamstring injury, which does promote the upside again to Mike Williams versus this Houston Texans defense that isn't great. Derek Stingley is a baller, though, so he's going to try to lock up the services of Mike Williams, which could help out a Joshua Palmer and DeAndre Carter. Very much mid-level risk plays for me. I'm going Palmer over Carter at this point, but if you have Carter, there is flex upside appeal in this man right now, and I mean, Gerald Everett, same thing. You can play all of these individuals if you have to, because they will be reliable. However, you still got to put the caveat on Justin Herbert this week in that cartilage, in the ribs, having the issues, fighting through all that pain that he's fighting through, so you may not see the top end levels. I would definitely say Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, probably the plays, where DeAndre Carter, I would probably fade him just a little bit, but Austin Eckler should have a very big day for these Chargers. The Los Angeles Rams going to San Francisco on Monday Night Football to face the 49ers. Matthew Stafford, what can we say about Matthew Stafford? I got to take a breath there because, these LA Rams are very confusing overall as a team. They get up early, they move fast, and they allow teams to come back. I don't like that. And then they can't find their mojo. They can't find their rhythm as the game goes on the offensive side. However, Cam Akers starting to take a little bit more of the, volume from the backfield. He's looking still he doesn't have as much burst. So when we talk about Achilles injuries in James Robinson, we can talk about the same. James Robinson looks like he's got a lot of burst. Cam Akers does not. So it's the tale of two different players, two different individuals coming off the same injury, but they are feeding Cam Akers the ball a lot. And I think this is the week as well. They're going to try to utilize Cam Akers a little bit more. Hopefully that he can, find open lanes. Excuse me, I got a mid-level risk for this man right now. Low risk for Matthew Stafford because Cooper Kupp is just that stud start every single week. He is finding ways to carve up defenses. San Fran didn't look, great last week on the defensive side. It's just Denver looked that bad. So, I mean, for me, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, I'm definitely playing them this week. They got to find their mojo in L.A., and I think, forget, the third wide receiver, forget Tyler Higbee this week. You got to start with the run game, get that established, start feeding Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson both simultaneously to move this offense in better directions. That's what I got to believe on Monday Night Football. I think it's going to be a very good show. It shouldn't be as much of a snooze fest as that Denver 49ers game we saw last week. The Las Vegas Raiders taking on those Denver Broncos. 0-3, man. 0-3. How can you even, keep your job there, McDaniels? You're hot. Your seat is getting hot already 3 weeks into the season. But Denver's very beatable, and we thought that these, offenses would do very good. The Raiders' offense is moving the ball with very good levels of consistency. They're just not able to score enough touchdowns to win the contest. Derek Carr is a low-risk play. He is a 3-time boom potential guy right now. In 3 contests, he has 3 booms. You got to like that. 56 points. He's doing more than enough to support your fantasy team. Not taking you over the top, but if you have Derek Carr, he has been very reliable enough for you at this point. Josh Jacobs, I am plugging him in everywhere I have him against this Denver Broncos defense, who struggle against the run. Josh Jacobs needs to find his way into the end zone. The only problem that we have is Josh McDaniels, the head coach, is not feeding the ball to this man. Give Josh the ball. He is going to score a touchdown this week. I'm feeling it. Low risk play for me, Josh Jacobs. No kidding. Devontae Adams, he is echoed his frustration right now in this past game. The lack of targets this past 2 weeks overall is making him quite angry as a human being. He wants to get back into Green Bay to play with Aaron Rodgers at this point. It's time. You got to start force feeding this man just a little bit more. He is your superstar. This is why you traded for him from Green Bay. You got to feed this man the ball. Mac Hollins has found good upside right now. He's got 37 points. He had a massive boom contest last week. He is somewhat trustworthy now with Hunter Renfrow not in the game again with an injury. Foster Moreau also out with an injury, so Darren Waller should be targeted quite a bit. If they want to get back to the drawing board for a per se, You run the ball with Josh Jacobs, you force feed Devontae Adams, and you look to Darren Waller in the end zone. This will likely get you a victory versus these Denver Broncos, but I mean, Patrick Surtain's going to have his hands full with a Devontae Adams, so I fully see these Vegas Raiders getting off the schneid and beating the Denver Broncos, who cannot play offense right now this week. So I'm definitely low risk for all these individuals, and they should have a very good showing. The Minnesota Vikings going to London across the pond to face off against the New Orleans Saints and a very much injured New Orleans Saints. What is the storyline of this contest? Dalvin Cook. I got a mid-level risk for him this week because of that shoulder. However, he has been cleared off the injury report, if you can believe it. Apparently, he just popped that shoulder out. He's got a torn labrum, so it constantly pops out on him. He's going to be wearing a brace this week. However, I got to say, I really do think this is a trap for Dalvin Cook owners. We have to play Dalvin, no kidding. Hopefully he can save the day with a touchdown, because I do believe we're going to see a very big split timeshare in this backfield. Alexander Mattison is going to see a big workload. I truly believe he's got medium upside only because they want to protect Dalvin Cook this week. Dalvin's going to play. He's going to run the ball, but I think Alexander Mattison is going to see a lot of work in this contest. Kirk Cousins gets a mid-level risk for me against a New Orleans Saints defense that is still decent enough to give him problems. These last 2 weeks, they have looked awful offensively. The head coach O'Connell does not look good and sharp and confident calling plays. The execution is even worse on the field. Justin Jefferson lost his stud start for me. He is a low-risk play rank right now. He needs to get back to the good graces. He is a baller, no kidding, but 2 subpar showings. Being locked up in coverage is not a good look for an elite wide receiver in this league. Yes, Kirk Cousins is struggling as well. This run game is not looking great either. Adam Thielen did find his way back into fantasy reliability and viability this past week. It should again continue. Go back to what works. It is the very good short passes, the consistency to Adam Thielen from Kirk Cousins. We got to know this extremely well. KJ Osborne was the fortunate member for fantasy football to see, lesser coverage come his way, found his way into the end zone. I got Irv Smith as a high-risk play this week because I think they're going to try really hard to run the ball with, Cook and Madison and try to spread the ball back to JJ and Adam Thielen. I really do believe they want to get back to the good books in this offense, and that's how they do it, man. New England Patriots up against these Green Bay Packers. Again, like Houston, there's not a lot to like in New England right now, and as Bills fans, we got to love it. Brian Hoyer is your starting quarterback because Mac Money Jones is dealing with that high ankle sprain. High risk for Hoyer. He hasn't played much football these past few years. This could get very ugly in Green Bay, man. What else can I say? Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson both get the mid-level plays for me because I do believe they will start this contest off running the ball a lot to protect Brian Hoyer. And I mean, I don't like this wide receiver room with a Brian Hoyer outside of maybe Devontae Parker. They might have found something with Parker last week. And I mean, he could be the guy that, we all wanted him to be. Maybe Brian Hoyer just says, the hell with it. I'm just going to chuck it up to Devontae Parker. Jacoby Myers still dealing with that injury. I don't think he played last week. You definitely got to, keep tabs on that one. But outside of that, I wouldn't really play any of these players outside of the running backs. If the wide receivers, if you're really risking it, maybe Devontae Parker, but again, that's a pretty big risk. I only put the mid-level risk because Hoyer's got to go to somebody, and I have doubts that Myers is going to suit up and be healthy in this contest. The New Orleans Saints in that contest in London versus Minnesota. And this is an injury list like no other for New Orleans. Jameis Winston is doubtful to out, and I don't think he's going to suit up in this contest. Michael Thomas is out. Alvin Kamara still has the rib injury. Jarvis Landry is questionable with an ankle. You got issues all over this offense right now. Andy Dalton is going to be playing. Alvin Kamara has not looked very good so far this season dealing with the rib injury. High risk for Dalton, mid-level risk for Alvin Kamara. Do you play him this week? That's the question. I think you still have to play Alvin Kamara if he's going to suit up because this offense is going to need something reliable, even with Jarvis Landry playing not at 100%. You know where the uptick goes? Chris Olave, my guy, and I love this every single day. His air yards, his ADOT right now is leading the NFL top 3, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is the game, man. He's going to want to showcase his talents at an international stage. And Olave, he went off last week. We got to get in that end zone, though. I think Olave is the play this week, even with an Andy Dalton, who has proven that he can at least still throw the ball deep enough to get his wide receivers some productivity. I love Olave this week out of any player in New Orleans. Traquan Smith, he just found his way back by default to get some fantasy points because of injuries. No Michael Thomas. Hopefully Landry does play to pull some coverage away from Olave. If that does happen, Olave should see a very good day. I'm banking on it in the international crowd early on against Minnesota. Alvin Kamara is definitely a mid-level risk. I mean, you got to play him, but you're going to be likely disappointed unless he finds his way into the end zone because those ribs look, like they're hampering his game quite a bit, man, these past weeks. New York Giants going up against the Chicago Bears. And this is an injured team as well. Kadarius Toney out. Wan'Dale Robinson out. Sterling Shepard lost for the season to an ACL. Now you're left with Richie James, David Sills, and Kenny Galladay. Throw up in my mouth. It is really, really bad. The only baller on this team right now is Saquon that you are trusting. He is the stud start every single week, but this is going to be a problem if Daniel Jones can't find ways to support these players in the pass game to keep the defense honest and not stack the box against Saquon. Thankfully, this week it's up against Chicago Bears defense that isn't necessarily great. They're learning, they're improving, they have some good pieces. Raekwon is always on the field, dissecting plays and tackling ball carriers, but I'm hoping Daniel Jones is going to be able to at least find short chunk plays and give Saquon the ball. We could see a lot of checkdowns to Saquon in the pass game coming from the backfield. His game should be very, very good against the Chicago Bears. We could even see a multi-touchdown score from Saquon this week. If I'm betting man right now, which I am, I'm saying Richie James gets the PPR upside this week because they have nobody else. You cannot trust Kenny Galladay. That man is just terrible right now. It just doesn't seem like he wants to play football anymore. But those are the guys I'm going with in New York versus Chicago Bears. New York Jets, they get the MILF, the Cougar Killer, man, in Zach Wilson. Coming back on the field, first game back from his knee injury, it is very much a high-level risk. Joe Flacco was able to keep this team 1-2, move the ball very, very well. They just had some bad luck against the Cleveland Browns. Otherwise, they would have been 2-1. Breece Hall is the low-risk play for me. The Jets are starting to figure out that this man is a thoroughbred, and he needs the ball with volume to get going. 31.8 points right now in this offense. Running the ball is going to be extremely important in this game versus Pittsburgh to help Zach Wilson get his confidence early. So I do foresee a lot of Breece Hall. I do foresee a lot of Michael Carter early in this game, and then I see if Zach Wilson does get comfortable, he gets comfy, I could see a lot of Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore has the best chemistry with Zach Wilson. We could see a little bit more sprinkle to Moore early on until he starts finding Garrett Wilson. Wilson, I do have him as a low risk because he is that alpha. If the ball's anywhere in the direction of this man, he's going to come down with it, highly likely. But Elijah Moore does have now the upside once again with Zach Wilson on the field, the very quick, reliable, speedy wide receiver that Joe Flacco just couldn't find. I think that's going to come at the problem of Tyler Conklin. That's why I got him at a mid-level risk right now. Zach Wilson doesn't necessarily utilize his tight end so far in his career. It's usually been Elijah Moore or his running backs. So Conklin gets a little bit of downgrade where Elijah Moore gets an upgrade. Hopefully Garrett Wilson and him and Zach Wilson find good chemistry early, but Breece Hall and Michael Carter for me are very good plays this week. More Breece Hall than Carter, but if you're wanting to trust Michael Carter, I think he gets back to some good level of fantasy productivity against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense that can still play ball even without TJ Watt. The Philadelphia Eagles, like I said, fly Eagles fly because they're flying with 3 victories. Look at all this green I got on this right now, man. Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. All green, stud start and low-risk plays for me against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are improving. No kidding. The defense looks good. It looks a lot better than what, a lot of people had anticipated. But this is the Eagles right now. They are just flying, man. This is a perfect nickname, Fly Eagles Fly. They look very, very good. Jalen Hurts, what the important thing that we're seeing with Jalen Hurts, the continuation of the passing aptitude progression. This is what we want to see from this man, and he is doing very well. Last week, it was Devonta Smith's turn to be the big dog baller in receiving points. I think he was the league's best receiver in fantasy points last year in half PBR, or last week's, in half PBR. A.J. Brown is going to pick apart this defense. Devonta Smith is very, very good. Now that they can mix and match who they're throwing to with good levels of productivity, Miles Sanders is just picking up where he left off, where we wanted him to be. Boston Scott is out, which means no vulture touchdowns on the goal line, so we should see Miles have a very good day. I really like the Eagles this week as well, especially in Philadelphia. They are going to be, foot on the gas. They want to go to 4-0, and they look very good defensively. This will get them the ball back, especially against Trevor Lawrence, who is also on the ascension. I do believe they're going to give him a lot of looks that's going to confuse him, which could get him the ball back on interceptions or fumbles per se. But this Philadelphia Eagles offense right now is super high octane. You can trust almost every piece in this offense this week as a start. I love it all day long. The Pittsburgh Steelers going up against those New York Jets, and I mean, dump fire. What can we say? Dump fire. Mitchell Trubisky, it's time. Tomlin, I don't know what you're doing. Get Trubisky out. Put Kenny Pickett in. I don't care if he's not ready. It's time to see what the young buck can do. Najee Harris and Deontay Johnson are the only low-risk plays that I can support this week, even though it is the New York Jets. Chase Claypool, mid-level risk because he may see, the one-on-one potential along with George Pickens. High risk. It's just not enough volume to support these players and trust them in fantasy football at the moment. But Deontay Johnson is enough right now where Trubisky's able to find him short over the middle, and he's able to get some yak yardage ability. Najee, I feel sorry for all the Najee owners right now. This offensive line is killing his top-end productivity. Yards per carry are definitely suffering. We need a new quarterback in Pittsburgh. It's time. We got to move on. TD upside does go to Pat Freiermuth this week. You're definitely going to play Pat Freiermuth versus the New York Jets because they do give up points to the tight end position. Pat Freiermuth is one of these guys that is going to be continuously consistent for you over the season. 2 out of 3 games, he has a boom, and I think he's going to get a 3 out of 4 against these New York Jets. So, definitely fire up Pat Freiermuth, the Muth. We got San Francisco 49ers again on Monday Night Football versus the LA Rams. Jimmy Garoppolo stepping out of his own end zone like a fool. I don't know what else to say. High-risk level play for Jimmy. I don't like it whatsoever. Jeff Wilson does get a little bit of upside because they still like to run the ball in San Francisco, but you got a beast like Aaron Donald, plugging up the holes for this run game. That's why I got the mid-level risk on him right now. Deebo Samuel is Deebo. He is your stud play every single week. Does not matter who he plays. He is matchup proof, and he is going to likely give you very good upside as per usual. Brandon Ayuk does have good upside this week. The Jimmy Garoppolo thing does promote more passes to Ayuk to be fantasy viable. Even though we thought Trey Lance was going to do it with the deep shots and the deep passes, we do see a little bit more consistency with Jimmy Garoppolo and Brandon Ayuk. George Kittle, I got him as a low risk. Wanted to see him come back without any injury setbacks in this past week. He does that. He is now a low risk against these LA Rams who do struggle at the linebacker position. They're going to have to bring a safety over the top to see and seal George Kittle. So I think he could find his way to decent fantasy points, but Jimmy Garoppolo's got to support it. No question about that. Seattle Seahawks going up against the Detroit Lions in Motown, and Geno, high-risk play for me this week. Rashard Penny and Kenneth Walker, very much high-level risk plays for me this week, simply because this Detroit Lions defense is for real. They are improving in the right ways. Not for real as a top-end defensive unit, but they look good enough to stifle, subpar average competition. Geno Smith, I don't foresee him, setting the stage on fire with statistical achievement. You cannot trust Rashad Penny. This is the problem. If he breaks free, then you're going to be like, I should have started him. You cannot trust it right now. He's giving you no point productivity. The Seattle Seahawks are not running the ball with Kenneth Walker really at all right now either. You cannot trust this running back room whatsoever. I'm definitely sitting both these individuals. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett do get mid-level risks, though, because either one of these individuals can break free at any moment and score you a touchdown. It is not great. We will see who Jeff Okudah does play against more. I got to feel like it's Tyler Lockett over DK because of the size mismatch, but one of these individuals will likely be pegged to be the guy. I got to say maybe it's going to be Tyler Lockett this week over DK Metcalf. We saw DK get in the end zone like I told y'all last week. I said it was his week. This week I think he kind of falls back down to the graces, as Geno should be, seeing a lot of pressure come his way because Hutch is a very big baller, the rookie defensive end. He is making life very difficult for quarterbacks. Will Dissly is the only guy right now that I'm saying gets a low risk in this game. He has found very good opportunity, and he's taken advantage of every ounce of that. Geno Smith has found the tight end position with high levels of regularity. It's a very good completion for him, and consistent completion, I should say, for him. And I think Dissly is this guy we can trust, especially over a Noah Fant at this point. Dissly, if you got him off the waiver wire, I would plug him this week as well, because tight end starts are very volatile in the first place. If you don't have a top end tight end, Will Dissly definitely gives you some good streamer upside against the Detroit Lions this week. Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football going to get up against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Tom Brady has not looked good whatsoever in this season. Okay, he's got injuries. We understand all his wide receivers were injured. He gets Mike Evans back from that one-game suspension this week. Russell Gage looks like he's going to suit up in this contest. Julio Jones, I want to say he's game-time decision, even though they got a questionable knee. It's a partially torn PCL. I don't foresee him playing this week. I think they're going to roll with Evans. Gage. Godwin is the one you got to look at. He's questionable with a hamstring. He may play in this game. I still would not trust that. I got to see, Godwin at least have one full contest without any setbacks for me to trust his services. So for me, it's fire up Mike Evans without question. You're going to be playing Uncle Lenny every single week because he does give you good upside. He found himself off the injury report, which is a very big thumbs up and positive. You want to see them run the ball against Kansas City, especially against that front, that defensive front that is very, very good. Chris Godwin, I just can't trust it. I won't trust it. Cram Brate, high risk level play. I can't play Tom Brady either. I'm not touching Tom Brady this week either. He's got to prove that he is back to being the GOAT on the field for fantasy productivity. There are far too many other quarterbacks like a Marcus Mariota that you can get better high upside point production than Tom Brady. I got to see it right now from Tom before we can trust it. I'm definitely sitting Tom this week, but Uncle Lenny, Mike Evans, I'm definitely playing. Russell Gage has good mid-level risk for my flex, so that's kind of how I see these Tampa Bay Buccaneers in primetime on Sunday Night Football. Tennessee Titans up against the Indianapolis Colts. Very hard to trust this team as well, even though they got off the schneid. But I do have a caveat this week because Treylon Burks, you feel this is the game. You really do, in the gut, man. Week 4, this is when a rookie, finally feels like his feet are kind of on the floor, on the, good footing for his career to start in the NFL. We could see Treylon Burks be targeted quite a bit against a Colts defense that is able to be gashed. Excuse me. I'm having some issues today. But, Treylon Burks is this guy that I do believe that you can trust as a sleeper upside simply because we got to see the run game, be promoted, which I do think is going to happen this week. Derrick Henry loves to play these Indianapolis Colts, but they want to, see what they got out of this rookie. I'm kind of, beating around the bush on my point. But I think you gotta trust what Treylon Burks can do, and I feel in the gut right now, based on how this Indianapolis Colts defense played last week, they're gonna have a letdown. They played extremely well against the Kansas City Chiefs. They could have a very big letdown. Ryan Tannehill is a decent quarterback, not a great quarterback. He's gonna be able to spread the ball around as long as they can get Derrick Henry moving, like I think they will. That play action pass is gonna be open all day long, and this is the game where Treylon Burks I think does have the touchdown breakout upside that we have been absolutely waiting for. So he does have monster sleeper appeal for me, where Robert Woods does get a mid-level risk. PPR upside is always going to be his level game, but Derrick Henry is going to get back into the good graces this week once again. Run the ball extremely well, and Treylon Burks, I'm banking on it. I'm the betting man. I think he's going to score a touchdown, his first, I believe, in the NFL this week. Finishing it off with the Washington Commanders, the Commies, going up against the Dallas Cowboys. And the Philadelphia Eagles took it to him. What can you say? I expected a lot more. Carson Wentz, it was a revenge game, and you just proved that we all know that you have no clutch and you cannot get up for big contests that involve something in your past. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. He was sacked like 9 times this past game. The offense could not move. Terry McLaurin was the only boom wide receiver this past week. Curtis Samuel does give you still the good upside. This week against Dallas, the defense in Dallas looks very good as well. They're going to rush Carson Wentz a lot, but if you can believe it, Antonio Gibson, 3 straight boom games for this man. He should continue to be fed. He is a very good player against the Dallas Cowboys, likely every single time they play. He's got a very good past and history. Terry, Dotson, Samuel, I'm still putting low good upside and low level risk for me because I don't think the Cowboys have faced a team with this many weapons. The only problem we got to say is the protection. Can they protect Carson Wentz from this good pass rush from Micah Parsons and company? We shall see. That is going to be the problem I foresee once again. Like we saw in Philadelphia, the offensive line is just confused. But if they get any levels of productivity on that offensive line, we could easily see Terry, Dotson, and Samuel have good level days. And if he spreads the ball around, they got to get more creative in Washington because last week they just, they went to bed, they went to sleep, and they just basically gave up as the Eagles continue to push. I am not playing Carson Wentz this week, but I will suit up all these wide receivers. Once again, Antonio Gibson, very much a low-risk play. John Dotson, I might say, maybe the guy that I would think twice about this week, but Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, no-brainers for me. They're just putting up way too much point productivity for you to fade in week number 4. So there you have it. That is week number 4 start sit. I mean, those are marathon shows of dissecting every single team. But hey, I'm trying my best to help you guys have the best rosters out there, and I think we're doing pretty well so far this season. Hopefully your teams are doing great, but nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts. Throw your start sit questions in there. I will definitely answer them. But good luck this week. Hopefully we get all the W's, and we'll see you next time. I am out.